Hello. Welcome to another episode of What the Fuck Is This Bitch Doing? In today's video, kids, we are going to be reviewing this book. This is book 3, technically, according to Amazon. This is book 3 of Nicci Harris's Kids of the District series, and it is called Her Way. This is Bronson's story. If you're familiar with this series, then you will have already read the first book in the series. Now, the first book I think was originally released in 2, I don't even want to call them novellas because they're long as fuck. Like they were full-length novel length type. Why did I say length twice? Full-length novel length. And then they were compiled into one big book called Our Thing. And on the front, it says Our Thing and Cosa Nostra. But it's like a duet type book. It's like a thick, it's a chunky boy. But that was Max and Cassidy's story. This is Bronson's story. And while Amazon says that it's book 3, if you ask me, it's book 2. Okay? It's book 2. Because I don't count Max's story as being 2 books. It's 1 book. Now, I'm gonna give you guys the deeds for the book, and then we're gonna break it down a little bit. And we'll see what we see, right? Now, this book and all the books in this series are free to read with Kindle Unlimited. There is a new book, which is the final book in this series. I forget what the name of it is. But it is called Their Broken Legend, and that is Xander's story. It is coming out March 31st. So keep a lookout for that. Now the audio for this series is like, I don't know if all of them have been done yet. Obviously, I don't think the last book in the series has been done yet. But from what I heard, I think Nicci is like cranking them out pretty quickly, because the audio for the first book as well as this book has been released already. The third book is coming out soon, I think, in audio. Anyway, if you want to purchase this book for your Kindle, you can currently get it for the price of, I don't fucking know, because Amazon is stupid. Oh, Kindle, earn 20 points. Could you just tell me the fucking price of the Kindle book, instead of telling me how much it would be after I apply points, or instead of just literally telling me you earn 20 points? Literally, you earn 20 points. Where is the price? Ooh, look at that auto adjustment. Oh, damn. Where is the price? Where's the price of the Kindle book? Where's the price of the audiobook, for that matter? Amazon, you fucking up. Okay? I have to physically go to the browser, the actual Amazon web browser. Stupid. Harris. Jesus Christ. Okay. If you would like to purchase this book for your Kindle, you can get it right now for the price of $3.99. If you want this lovely trade paperback that I'm holding in my hand, you can get it for the price of $15.99. Now, this book is also available in hardcover. It's something that I appreciate about Nicci because a lot of indie authors don't put their books available in hardcover. I especially like that these are available in hardcover right now for the price of $25.99, by the way, because the covers for every single one of the books in this series are fucking stunning. They're stunning. Like, just look at that. That's fucking beautiful, right? If you've seen the cover for Our Thing in Costa Nostra, oh my God, beautiful. And every single one of the covers has, they're discreet covers, obviously. They don't have any like naked men on the front. But she didn't, it's not like she came out with non-discreet covers and then, like a lot of other authors have done, jumped on the discreet cover bandwagon and reprinted their books with a new cover. These were the original covers. And they're fucking beautiful. I love that. Putting these books side by side, they're probably some of the prettiest covers I have on my bookshelf right now because they're just so well done. Anyway, I'm gushing. Also, the finish on these books, they have that like suede-y matte feeling that I love so much from Amazon. I could literally just like creepily rub this book all day. Can you hear my wrist popping? No. Okay. Anyway, stop. This book is also available in audio. Here's the thing about the audio. I shouldn't be surprised because I know the setting for where these books take place. And yet, each time I listen to the audio, it took me a hot second to get into their voices because they speak with an Australian accent. The books are set in Australia. The narrators have Australian accents. I don't know if they're actually Australian or if they just put that accent on. Either way. I don't know why. When I read the books myself, I don't hear them in an Australian accent, even though I know that it's set in Australia. Hearing it on the audiobook was jarring. And it shouldn't have been because in my brain, I know where the location is. And yet I still was like, oh my God. But the narrators who narrated this book, both of their voices are top notch. So I was not mad about it. Okay? Now, I'm gonna read you guys the blurb and then we'll break it down really quick because I'm already 10 minutes in and I haven't said shit all about shit. Okay? So the book has like a there's like a little catchphrase here. And it's like a quote and it says, "Your love for her is dangerous and unnatural." And then it says, "I grin. I'm dangerous and unnatural." That's a Bronson quote. I love that quote because he is. He's intense. Bronson. He's intense. Okay, so the first part of the blurb is from Bronson's POV. So we'll read both, obviously, but okay. "Olive skin, amber eyes. She has been mine since we were 14. She was my beautiful distraction from the chaos I was born into, from the disturbances in my own mind, from my legacy. So when everything we created together is ripped away, I burn the idea of a peaceful life. Widening my arms to my inevitable fate, I accept my duties. Without her, I embrace a single purpose: to protect my brothers, to protect my family. Now, the second part is from the main female character's POV. Her name is Shoshana, which is a very unusual name. I've never heard that name before. Green blue eyes, a dimpled grin. The world was a mere playground to my nutcase Bronson Butcher. But I destroyed him, so he walked away from me, dragging behind him one half of my severed heart. 11 years later, the crazy son of a bitch appears, bleeding out on my hospital table. A bullet wound, of course. We have both changed so much. Bronson now lives by a deranged and bloody moral code and takes whatever he wants, whomever he wants. Okay, so as you can clearly see, the two main characters for this book are Bronson and Shoshana. I think at different points she's referred to as in a shortened version of that. Like some of them call her Shosh or like Shoshi. I could not get into those little shortening of the names because her name is so unusual to begin with that abbreviating it just felt weird in my mind. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm gonna read you guys as per our new custom. I will be reading my notes from my reading journal. We'll see what happens. Book opens on Bronson disposing of a body. That should tell you right there. Like everything you need to know about Bronson Butcher. Interrupted by a call from niece Kelly. Flashback to 14. Dad, Jimmy, and others at his house. Present day. So in the flashback scene, you see Bronson as like a young teenager. And he's surrounded by, they're like Italian mafia, but living in Australia. And Jimmy Storm is the head of the Sicilian mob in the district. And Bronson's father, what the fuck is his name? I want to say Billy Butcher, but I don't think that's accurate. Bronson's father works for Jimmy. He used to be a big time boxer, and they called him the Butcher because he was very good at what he did. And now, like, his moniker stands as well because he's basically working for Jimmy. They're distantly related to the actual Sicilian mob, like the head honchos who run the Sicilian mob in Sicily. The Butchers are related to them. So it was like natural progression of life that they would be part of the mafia in Australia. So present day, Shoshana is a doctor at hospital. Bronson comes in unconscious with gunshot wound. She's so shocked. I don't know why I wrote that. Flashback to 13. Pool party at her house by older sister. Has first kiss with Bronson. Boys get into fight. Bronson held underwater. Shoshana gives him CPR, saves his life. Present day. Shoshana is living with Perry, in parentheses I put doctor, and sister, who's disabled by accident she was in with father who died. Okay. Hasn't seen Bronson in 11 years, which is accurate. So when they were, this book has a lot. When I say a lot, I mean a lot of flashback scenes. It essentially follows Bronson and Bronson and Shoshana's life from ages roughly 13 to 17. And it shows the progression of their relationship and how he was in love with her. It was love at first sight for him. She was everything that he wanted, that he needed at the time. She saves his life. He already has trauma involving water from his mother, who was abusive and still is abusive. She's a psycho. I don't know why she's not dead yet. But ever since that traumatic incident with his mom, he has been focused, hyper-focused, and obsessed with the happiness of his brothers, his family, his brothers. They're everything to him. And he does whatever is necessary to ensure their happiness. He has psychological issues from his traumatic past, his abuse with his abusive mother. He hears like a demented laugh anytime something bad happens, and he has to react to whatever's going on. So it's almost like he hears voices, but the laugh he's hearing in his head is his own. And it's from a time when there was that traumatic incident that involved water, and it was like a manic type laugh that bubbled up inside him, basically to prevent him from cracking. And ever since then, he hears that whenever he's getting ready to do something bad. So, present day. So when he's 13 and the boys at the pool party get into a fight, and essentially the older kids attack his brothers, he has to try and defend. Obviously, he's going to try and defend his little brothers. And one of the boys holds him underwater, and he essentially drowns. Shoshana, who had previously been getting harassed by him because he just liked the look of her, had gone into the house and was like, I don't have time for y'all. She sees from the window that he's in the pool. She runs down. They drag him out. She gives him CPR and saves his life. And from that moment on, he's absolutely obsessed with her. He knows, this is the woman I'm going to marry. This is the woman I'm going to have kids with. He knows, even at 13, 14 years old, that, and I want to say she was maybe a year younger than him. Anyway, from that moment on, he knew, you're the one. I want you and only you. And so, present day, Shoshana's living with Perry. Perry is like the doctor, her boss at work. He's like if you have like a resident and you have like, I don't know how the doctor thing works, but he's the one in charge of their area, like they're part of the hospital. And she's going through like her residency. She's like a lower ranking doctor. I don't know how that works. Anyway, she is with Perry, in a relationship with Perry, living with Perry, engaged to Perry. And she's with him because she thinks, at one time I think she thought she loved him. In actuality, he manipulated her into relying on him and becoming dependent on him emotionally, financially, because of her sister. Her father and her sister were in a car accident. The father died. Her sister, what the hell's her name? Her sister Akilah. Her sister Akilah went from being a perfectly able-bodied, like, vivacious girl to being little more than a shell of a person. She doesn't communicate. She doesn't move. She's paralyzed. She's in a wheelchair. And at the time that the accident happened, she was essentially, she should have died. That sounds very harsh to say, but her condition, her prognosis was not good. The doctors told Shoshana she will be a vegetable for the rest of her life. There's no brain activity. There's nothing going on. She's awake. She's conscious. And obviously she's able to, I don't even know if Nicci addressed how she like eats or whatever, but she needs constant round the clock care. And at the time, Shoshana and Bronson had already split up. And she had no one. She literally had no one to depend on. And she couldn't reconcile herself with the idea of losing everything at one time. And so she told the doctors, I don't care what her condition is. I don't care what her prognosis is. Keep her alive. I will not pull the plug. I will not let her go. I need her. And it was more of a need on Shoshana's part than it was the idea of her sister getting better and living a life. It was Shoshana's need to not be alone. So Perry, she meets Perry. Perry sees how she's struggling to pay for Akilah's care and go to school and do her residency and all of these things while trying to simultaneously take care of her sister. He offers her a lifeline. I want to say he pretends to be interested in her romantically. He manipulates her to the point where she moves in with him. He hires nurses to take care of Akilah during the day so that she can go to school. He wants to put Akilah in like a nursing home. Shoshana doesn't want to hear of it, but they're constantly fighting about that subject. And he systematically breaks her down to the point where she's no longer that brash teenager who knew her own mind and who stood up for herself and others. She went from being that to now having zero confidence. She doesn't feel like she's good enough at anything. She feels very demeaned by Perry. And prior to Perry, she was being demeaned by her father. Okay. All right, so present day, she has not seen Bronson in 11 years. And she's currently living essentially under Perry's thumb. Bronson has phone call with Jimmy. Was supposed to be getting his nephew and diamonds when he was shot. Flashback to 15 shows pattern of abuse for the boys by their mom. Bronson leaves hospital present day. He follows Shoshana to a party. Accosts Shoshana in an empty room and they have a sexual encounter. He essentially gets her off in like a secluded little side room of this party that she's at with Perry. And she essentially tells him, you can't do this. You can't just come back into my life and take over. Like, you run things. And he doesn't want to hear it. He's very dominant, very aggressive about what he wants. And when he comes to the realization that she's been living right there this entire time, not too far from the district. And he looked for her after they broke up. He searched for her and could not find her. Now, when he was shot, he was essentially, like present day, obviously, when he was shot, and he shows up on her table nearly dying. The shot, he shot himself. Bronson's working on a master plan to essentially take Jimmy down. If you remember at the end of Cosa Nostra, the revelation came out that Connor, who is Cassidy's brother, like adopted brother, turned out to be the butcher's son. So essentially Bronson, Max, Clay, and Xander have another brother, Connor. And he was abducted as a child, and he was supposed to be killed. And he ended up getting out. But it comes to light that Jimmy was the one who orchestrated his abduction to begin with and kept him from his family for, I want to say, like 3 years. He was missing for a long time. And they thought up to this point that Jimmy was a friend of the family, that he was an ally. And it turns out he's not. He's a villain. And so Bronson, having now been deprived of having a life with his other brother for this many years, has decided, as they've decided as a unit, Jimmy has to go. But they can't just kill him, because there will be repercussions by the Sicilians in Italy. Sicily's in Italy, right? So they realize they can't just kill Jimmy. Bronson comes up with a plan to essentially make Jimmy appear to be losing his grip on reality. So Bronson starts doing little things to shake him. He wants Jimmy to make a mistake. He wants Jimmy to appear to be irrational, unsettled, essentially a risk to the family, so that the Sicilians will give them the green light to take him out. He's working on that from the beginning of the book. He kills Jimmy's nephew, makes it appear that another guy did it, ends up turning around and killing that guy, and is in a shootout with him. A bunch of Jimmy's diamonds that his nephew was couriering, go missing. And Jimmy, by this point, is suspicious of Bronson, because there's just something not right about the way he's acting, which is saying something for Bronson, because Bronson is erratic as fuck. Bronson is a psycho. But up to this point, he has looked up to Jimmy as a surrogate father, and learned everything he could learn from Jimmy to make his way in the mafia. Now, he basically idolized Jimmy until this revelation about Connor comes out. And then he realizes Jimmy's got to go. And so he's systematically trying to whittle him down so that he will appear to be losing his grip on everything so that they can take him out. So while he's at the party, this is what I wrote. Accosts Shoshana in an empty room and they have sexual encounter. He swallows her engagement ring. Tells her to come to his hotel room if she wants it back. She does. Lies to Perry. They have sex. Bronson drugs her to keep her from leaving. Flashback to age 6 when mom was abusing them. Drives her, present day, drives Shoshana in an RV to the district. Has to go visit and check in with Jimmy. They have to pretend to be together. Have sex in sauna while Jimmy has people searching the RV and their clothes for missing diamonds. After Perry appears, saw them in the sauna, threatens to send Akilah to a home. Jimmy says he has to tie up loose ends, shoots Perry. So at this point, we know that it's at this point that we find out that Perry was essentially planted in Shoshana's life by Jimmy. Jimmy has known all along where she is. The entire time Bronson has been looking for her, he has known all along where she is, and he has had Perry with her to keep an eye on her, to keep her in his back pocket, basically, to be used against Bronson at a later date. This comes out during this time, but because he knows Bronson and how Bronson will react, he basically tells Bronson that he can't have any loose ends. And if Bronson and Shoshana are going to be together, then obviously Perry can't be part of the picture. And so Jimmy shoots him. He doesn't see that coming. Let's just say that. Shoshana has a breakdown. Flashback to 17. She's pregnant. Dad finds out. Reads her diary. Threatens to turn diary that shows Bronson killed someone to police unless she has an abortion. So she finds out at 17 that she's pregnant. This is after her and Bronson have been together as a couple for several years. Her father is a very overbearing. You don't see much of her father, but what you do see leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Let's just say that. He finds her diary, reads it while she's not home, realizes that she's pregnant. And in the diary, she had basically poured out her heart onto the page and written down how Bronson had to kill someone for Jimmy, on an order from Jimmy, and how he felt terrible guilt for what he'd done. And, you know, she just writes how she can't stand to see him hurting this way and yada, yada, yada. In addition to writing down that she's pregnant. Her father finds it and reads it, threatens to give the diary to the cops that will link Bronson to this kid's murder, unless she has an abortion, unless she gets rid of the baby. At the time, she feels like she doesn't have a choice. Her dad essentially drags her to the clinic and forces her to get rid of the baby. Bronson knew she was pregnant. She had told him. He was ecstatic. He had everything he wanted in life. He had her, he had this baby, and he was so happy at the idea of being a father. So she knows that when she tells him that the baby is gone, that he's going to lose it, and that he's going to leave her. So present day, Bronson meets with father and brothers, tells them what happened with Jimmy, the whole diamond bit and yada yada. Shoshana calls a nurse that she works with, and Shoshana calls from the butcher house. She calls the nurse that takes care of Akilah, and a friend, not really a friend, but like another doctor that she works with, like one of the nurses that she works with at the hospital, Katie, and asks her, she parks her pride basically and asks her to go check on Akilah. She speaks with the nurse and asks her to just sit tight. Please keep watching over Akilah, taking care of her. At some point, she's going to be moved because now she doesn't have the security of Perry to fall back on financially. It's at this point where Bronson tells her, it comes out that about Akilah's accident and her disability and everything that she has on her plate, which Bronson did not know about. And that's why she's so angry at him for kidnapping her, because she has responsibilities. She has someone who's depending on her, and she knows she has to get back to that person. So now it's at the point where Bronson knows what's going on and basically tells her, we will move Akilah here. We will take care of her. She will have the best care. Bronson's rich. He's rolling in money. He's got money. So, yeah. Entire family is in on plan to kill Jimmy, but need the backing of Sicilian Head. Flashback to 17-year-old Bronson. After he finds out that she's had the abortion, he goes to the clinic where, after he finds out that she's been forced to have the abortion, which she tells him, he obviously, as she expected, he freaks out and he drives off on his motorcycle, essentially leaving her in a park where that used to be like their spot. And he leaves her. She thinks he's leaving her for good. And shortly after that, her father forces them to move. Bronson was angry. He was upset. But he had every intention of coming back. She didn't know that. When he leaves, he goes to the clinic where she had the abortion and demands essentially the remains of their child. He wants to give their son, he was convinced it was a son, I don't know if it was a son or not. He wants to give their son a proper burial. He wants him to be treated like a person. And he demands he goes to the clinic like a legit nutcase, screaming for his son. Where is my boy? The doctor comes out and essentially refers to the child as like biohazard waste or something. It's something terrible. And Bronson loses it. He has a full-blown mental break. And he sets the entire clinic on fire. Because if you can't give me my son so that I can have him properly buried or properly cremated, then I'll cremate him here. And I will turn this into his final resting place. And he does. He burns the entire clinic to the ground and gets some burns himself, ends up injuring himself, sustains burns, and that's where the flashback scene ends. Present day, the butcher house is attacked. That's what I wrote. Butcher house attacked. Bronson taken. Jimmy going to kill him. Appears as if Clay is in on it. Clay is Bronson's oldest brother. He's been groomed by Jimmy to become a politician and eventually the senator for the district, which will help further along Jimmy's plans of taking over everything. It appears at first that Clay was in on the kidnapping of Bronson. And for a split second, Bronson questions Clay's loyalties and is suspicious of his own brother, even though prior to this, family has been everything to him. His brothers have been everything. His father was everything. He had never, ever had a reason to doubt any of his brothers or their intentions towards him. But now it appears as if Clay was in on his kidnapping with Jimmy. Turns last minute and points gun on Jimmy. Sicilian head there to hear his confession on what happened to Connor. So essentially, Jimmy admits to Clay and to Bronson that he was responsible for Connor's kidnapping. And this confession and the unhinged way that it's delivered by Jimmy is witnessed by the head of the Sicilian mob, who has flown in specifically as a favor to their father to basically catch Jimmy in the act of admitting, to overhear his confession. He does, and he walks in and he sides with the butchers, because the butchers are clearly more capable of running the district than Jimmy. And he essentially gives Clay and Bronson the green light to kill Jimmy. Bronson essentially then beats the shit out of Jimmy, like beats him to death. Epilogue. 12 months later. No, baby probably not Bronson's, but okay with it. Clay is elected mayor. Okay. So throughout the entire book, after she got with Perry, she found out that her egg count was low and that there was a very high possibility that she would never be able to have another child or get pregnant. She essentially tells Bronson this at some point, and that there's a high probability that she can't give him the life that he so desperately wanted when they were 17. There's a high probability that she cannot give him another child to replace the one that they lost. And Bronson, instead of turning her away, he consoles her and says, it doesn't matter. We'll adopt. We'll try. We'll keep trying. If it doesn't work naturally, we'll try IVF. And if that doesn't work, then we'll adopt. And he just wants a life with her and to raise a family. He wants to be a father. He wants to have a family. In the epilogue, 12 months later, they have a baby. She did get pregnant. but the timing of everything makes it apparent that the child is most likely not Bronson's, that it's Perry's. And Bronson, on a subconscious level, he knows this. And it doesn't matter. Because he's there from the time that she finds out she's pregnant to the time that the child is born. And from that point on, he's that child's father. So paternity is not a thing for him. And there was like an author note that Nicci put at the end of the audiobook that the narrators read, which I really appreciated, because a lot of times author notes are like not included in the audiobook. They're there in the physical book, they're there in the ebook, but they're not included in the audio. I'm going to read the author's note really quick. It says, "Dear reader, stop, please. I want to talk about baby Stone." That's his name, Stone. "I want to discuss my decision to have him not be Bronson's biological son. I didn't do it to be mean." This was an important aspect of Bronson's character and journey. The principal theme in the Kids of the District series is family. And I like to explore this concept thoroughly. Bronson is by far the most unapologetically loving of all the Butcher pack. He loves so hard with his big, crazy heart. His love is without prejudice. It is without conditions. And Stone needed a dad. Bronson couldn't love him any more than he does. The fact he isn't his blood is insignificant, and this aspect of the story shines a light on Bronson's character even more. On this amazing man who genuinely and wholly loves and accepts. He was never disappointed, so you shouldn't be. He got his boy, a perfect, healthy boy. Be happy for them both. Secondly, a few very close friends of mine have struggled with fertility, and even in this modern world, they are often met with ignorance around their family unit. A family pulled together with love and fight and desire, not a decision quickly made, nor a chance, but unyielding dedication. A marathon to have a family. And yet it is still not enough for some people. Even though they have a beautiful child by their side, they still endure comments like, "Maybe one day you'll have one of your own." This hurts my heart. So after discussion with one of these friends, and in parentheses says also a writer, we both envisioned Bronson holding a boy in his arms that wasn't his own blood and saying, "Yeah, he's a fucking butcher, all right." And nothing else mattered. Just try and tell our nutcase that Stone isn't his. But I didn't make this decision lightly. I made it for every father who loves his wife's biological children, even though they aren't his own blood. For every couple who adopted, who truly understand how trivial biological ties are. I made it for Bronson, who would burn the world to the ground for the people he loves. His sister-in-law, his brothers, his dad, his outlaw, Miss Kelly. His beautiful distraction and their beautiful son, and everyone else who makes his loved ones smile, them too. He never, not even for a split second, doubted that Stone was his. Some readers have reached out to me and said that Bronson and Shoshana deserve their own child, to which I say, Stone is theirs. I feel as though they are missing the point. Why would that make any difference? I know Bronson wanted a little bit of you and a little bit of me. That is a part of his journey too. Stone will be very much like the man who loves and raises him. He will be a lot of Bronson Butcher, not just a little. On a final note, this isn't the end for Bronson and Shoshana. I can assure you Bron will never stop wanting more children. Adopted, surrogate, biological, IVF, whatever. They will have a big, happy family. I finished reading that author note or in this case, finished listening to that author note, and I was a wreck. I was legit crying. And at the end, when it was revealed in the epilogue that the baby most likely was not Bronson's, I did have a knee-jerk reaction moment of, why? Why would you do that? But then the author note, it fixed everything for me. It didn't... I understood what she was saying and her reasoning for why she did what she did, why she wrote it that way. And I was okay with it after that. Because I do see that. I do believe that Bronson would feel that way. And so for me, it was enough that obviously that is Bronson's son, and he doesn't care about biology. And I bought what she was saying, hook, line, and sinker. And so yeah, that's essentially the end. That's how it ends. For the rating for the book, I would give it a solid 9.5. I really loved this book. I loved Bronson. There were moments where I was back and forth with Shoshana, but the trauma that they went through together as a couple, all of the years lost and wasted when they could have been together, but they weren't. And I really attached myself. It's obviously it's Nicci's fault, but I was culpable in what happened. So yeah. So would I recommend this book to other people? If you are not easily triggered by the topic of abortion, if you're not easily triggered by a lot of the other dark themes of the book, or just if you can get past the issues that they dealt with, and it will not trigger you and it will not bother you, then I would highly recommend this book to other people. I would highly recommend this series in general to other people. I think Nicci has a distinctive writing style that I'll say it's unlike a lot of other authors. That's not a bad thing. I think it's a geographical thing. Because she's Australian and I'm American, obviously, sometimes the language can be different than what I'm used to reading. But at the end of the day, she makes you feel the story. You become engrossed in the story. You attach yourself emotionally to the characters, and you feel what they feel. And I feel like that's the mark of a good author, honestly. Writing styles can vary, so yeah. I really enjoyed the book, and I really like this series, and I can't wait for the rest of the books to be put out in audio, because as I've said before, many times before, a lot of the books I intake these days have to be done in audio format because of just my limited time to physically read. So I can't wait for the rest of these books to come out in audio. I'm super excited. I need them like now, please. Thank you so much. Anyway, but yeah, if you enjoyed this video, if you like me and you like my channel, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I am super active on Instagram. I'll link them all in the description box below though, and I'll put a banner here on the screen for you guys to see. If you're interested in checking out some of my bookish merch, I will link my Teespring shop in the description box below, as well as put a little link here on the screen for you guys to see. And yeah, I think that's it. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me for another one. I know this was long. My last few have been quite short, and this one not so short. But I felt like there was so much to unpack from the plot that I couldn't just skim. And I still highly recommend that you read the book on your own. Even if you feel like I've told you everything there is to tell, there's a big difference in being told something and feeling it. And you need to feel it. So go read this book. But yeah, I thank you guys so much for joining me for another video, and I will see you on my next one. I love you so much. Bye. Oh, leave me alone. Okay, all right. Wait. Hold, please. Candace, you fucking idiot. What is wrong with your brain, Candace? Hello. Oh, hello. Thank you for joining me for another episode of What the Smut Book Reviews. I shouldn't do a British accent. I should do an Australian accent for this book, but I can't because I don't know how. It is what it is. So let's just not do any accents. Let's just stick with good old-fashioned Southern Candace out here trying to do these reviews. Oh my God. Bronson Butcher, you nutcase. I love you so much. I am so behind on reviews. It's ridiculous. I have like 1,000 reviews. I'm gonna steal this other pen because I want to. I don't know why my mom does this.
Okay, is it going to ding so I can leave my message? I knew you weren't going to answer. I wanted to talk to you about a house that's being auctioned off in the morning. Call me.
My mother, ladies and gentlemen. Psycho. Anyway. I don't think there'll be a lot of bloopers. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think so. This book was very heavy and was very serious. And so I did not dick around much in terms of bloopers. So I don't think you'll find many. Anyways, I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys next time. I gotta go clean up my makeup now because Nicci's done ruined me. Thanks, girl. Thanks. Just kidding. I love you. Give me more audiobooks, please. Thank you.